Lose visceral fat fast, the Chinese way. What visceral fat actually is, and why the Chinese approach targets it first. Visceral fat is not the soft, jiggly fat you can pinch with your fingers. That pinchable fat sits under the skin and is called subcutaneous fat. Visceral fat is different. It is stored deep inside the body, wrapped tightly around vital organs like the liver, pancreas, and intestines. Because it sits underneath the abdominal muscles, you cannot grab it, squeeze it, or spot reduce it with crunches. Visceral fat is dangerous because it is biologically active. That means it behaves less like stored energy and more like an organ that releases harmful chemicals. It releases inflammatory signals that disrupt insulin, raise blood sugar, increase blood pressure, and overload the liver. This is why people can look slim on the outside, but still have a hard, rounded belly and serious health problems on the inside. This condition is often described as thin outside, fat inside. In traditional Chinese health philosophy, this type of fat is closely linked to internal heat, dampness, and stagnation. In simple terms, that means the body is overloaded, circulation is sluggish, and waste is not being cleared efficiently. Instead of focusing on burning calories, the Chinese approach focuses on restoring flow, especially in the liver and digestive system, because visceral fat thrives when these systems are congested. A simple physical check helps identify visceral fat. When the belly sticks out firmly and feels hard rather than soft, this usually means fat is pushing outward from inside the abdominal cavity. This is not a muscle issue and not a posture problem. It is internal fat crowding the organs, especially the liver. From a Chinese medicine perspective, this signals that the liver is struggling to process excess energy and toxins. This is why the Chinese method does not begin with extreme workouts or starvation. Those methods add stress, and stress raises cortisol, a hormone that directly encourages visceral fat storage. Instead, the Chinese approach starts by calming inflammation, supporting liver function, and improving how the body handles energy. Once those systems are working properly, visceral fat becomes much easier to lose, and often disappears faster than surface fat. In short, visceral fat is not stubborn because it is permanent. It is stubborn because the body is protecting itself. The Chinese way focuses on removing the internal conditions that force the body to hold on to this fat in the first place. The Chinese diet principle that shrinks visceral fat first, cooling internal heat. In the Chinese approach, visceral fat is strongly linked to excess internal heat. Internal heat is not about body temperature. It means the body is overloaded with dense energy from food that is hard to process. Fried foods, refined sugar, alcohol, processed meat, and constant snacking create this heat. When the body cannot clear it, the excess is stored deep around the organs as visceral fat. Unlike Western diets that focus on calorie counting, the Chinese method focuses on food behavior inside the body. Foods are classified by how they affect digestion, circulation, and inflammation. Visceral fat forms fastest when digestion is slow and overloaded, so the first goal is to reduce digestive stress rather than eat less food. The fastest dietary shift is removing greasy, sticky, and heavy foods. These foods slow the digestive system and create what Chinese medicine calls dampness. Dampness is excess fluid and waste that the body cannot move. Visceral fat thrives in this damp environment. When you remove fried foods, pastries, creamy sauces, and sugary drinks, dampness begins to clear, and visceral fat becomes metabolically active and easier to burn. Next comes the use of cooling, fiber-rich foods that clean the system without shocking it. Vegetables like bok choy, napa cabbage, spinach, daikon radish, bitter melon, cucumber, and celery are staples in Chinese fat loss diets. These foods cool internal heat, support liver detox pathways, and improve insulin sensitivity. In plain terms, they help the body decide it is safe to release stored fat. Protein is still important, but portions are smaller and cleaner. Fish, tofu, eggs, and small amounts of chicken are favored because they digest easily and do not overload the liver. Large portions of red meat are avoided during visceral fat loss because they slow digestion and raise inflammatory signals that tell the body to store fat instead of burning it. White rice is not eliminated, but it is used strategically. In Chinese eating patterns, rice is eaten warm, plain, and in modest portions. This prevents blood sugar spikes while still providing energy. Cold foods, especially cold drinks and smoothies, are avoided because they weaken digestion. A weak digestive system is more likely to convert excess energy into visceral fat. Meals are eaten at regular times and stopped when the stomach feels about 70% full. This is an ancient rule used across East Asia. Eating until completely full puts pressure on the liver and pancreas, signaling the body to store fat. Stopping slightly early keeps insulin lower and allows fat-burning hormones to stay active. This way of eating does not feel restrictive, but it works fast because it removes the internal conditions that protect visceral fat. Once heat and dampness decrease, the body stops defending fat storage around the organs. The Chinese tea strategy that targets liver fat and belly pressure. Tea plays a central role in visceral fat loss in Chinese culture because it directly affects the liver. The liver is the organ most closely linked to visceral fat storage. When it is overwhelmed, fat is packed around it for protection. When liver function improves, visceral fat is released. The most effective teas for visceral fat are green tea, pu-erh tea, and oolong tea. These teas contain compounds called polyphenols, which reduce inflammation and improve how the liver processes fat. Green tea helps activate fat-burning pathways. Pu-erh tea is fermented, which improves gut bacteria and reduces fat absorption. Oolong tea sits between green and black tea and helps stabilize blood sugar. Tea is consumed warm and without sugar. Sweeteners cancel out the fat-burning effect by raising insulin. Drinking tea after meals helps reduce how much dietary fat is absorbed and prevents energy from being pushed into visceral storage. This is why tea is traditionally served after eating in Chinese culture. One common mistake is drinking bottled tea or flavored tea drinks. These are loaded with sugar and act like soda inside the body. They increase liver fat rather than reducing it. Real tea is brewed from leaves and consumed plain. Tea also gently stimulates movement in the digestive system. This improves circulation around the organs, which is crucial for releasing deep fat. Unlike caffeine from energy drinks or coffee, tea provides a calm, steady stimulation that does not raise stress hormones. When tea is consumed daily, it helps flatten belly pressure from the inside. Over time, the hard, protruding feeling associated with visceral fat begins to soften as fat around the organs decreases. Low-stress movement. Why the Chinese method avoids extreme workouts. In the Chinese approach, movement is meant to signal safety, not danger. Visceral fat is closely tied to stress hormones, especially cortisol. When cortisol stays high, the body assumes something is wrong and protects the organs by storing fat around them. That means the harder and more stressful your workouts are, the more likely your body is to cling to visceral fat like it's a life jacket. This is why the Chinese method avoids extreme workouts. Long runs, boot camps, and workouts where you collapse on the floor questioning your life choices may burn calories, but they also spike cortisol. Visceral fat hears that spike and thinks, emergency mode activated, store everything. Instead, the focus is moderate, repeatable movement. Think walking, tai chi, light cycling, swimming, or controlled bodyweight exercises. These activities improve blood flow, increase fat metabolism, and lower stress at the same time. It's multitasking, but for your metabolism. Walking is the undisputed champion here. A daily walk does not look impressive on social media, but visceral fat absolutely hates it. Walking keeps insulin low, improves liver blood flow, and encourages fat to be released slowly and consistently. No sweat-drenched shirt required. One of the most powerful habits is walking after meals. A 10 to 20-minute walk after eating helps muscles absorb glucose, so it doesn't get shipped straight to the liver and turned into fat. This is why in traditional Chinese culture, people rarely sit still immediately after eating. Lying down after a meal is basically sending your belly a formal invitation to store fat. Tai Chi deserves special mention. It looks slow, it looks easy, it looks like it wouldn't work. And that's exactly why it works. The slow movements combined with deep breathing stimulate circulation around the organs and gently massage the abdomen. This improves lymphatic drainage, which helps remove waste that contributes to visceral fat buildup. It's like housekeeping for your internal organs. The intensity rule is simple and slightly embarrassing. You should be warm, lightly out of breath, and able to talk in full sentences, but sound a little annoyed about it. If you can sing loudly, it's too easy. If you can't speak at all and are seeing visions of your ancestors, it's too hard. The sweet spot is right in the middle. Consistency beats intensity every time. Visceral fat responds to signals repeated daily, not heroic workouts done once a week. The best movement is the one you can still tolerate 3 months from now without pretending your knee suddenly hurts. Sleep, timing, and why night. Eating feeds visceral fat. In Chinese health philosophy, timing matters just as much as food choice. The liver is the central organ involved in visceral fat storage, and it runs its repair and detox programs at night. Specifically, it wants peace, quiet, and zero snacks. When you eat late at night, the liver has to stop repairing and start digesting. That means fat processing gets delayed and excess energy gets stored right around the organs. Even healthy food eaten late can turn into visceral fat because insulin sensitivity drops at night. Your body is tired. Your metabolism is tired. Your liver is not in the mood. Late night eating is one of the fastest ways to increase belly fat without realizing it. This is why someone can eat clean but still have a stubborn, hard belly. The timing is doing the damage, not the food quality. In traditional Chinese eating patterns, dinner is the smallest meal of the day. Breakfast and lunch do the heavy lifting. Dinner is lighter, simpler, and finished early. Ideally, eating stops at least 3 hours before sleep. That gives insulin time to fall and allows fat-burning hormones to turn on overnight. Snacking after dinner is especially problematic. A handful of nuts, a bowl of cereal, or a just one cookie moment tells the body to keep digestion running. Visceral fat hears that message and clocks in for overtime. Sleep itself is non-negotiable. Poor sleep raises cortisol, increases insulin resistance, and directly encourages visceral fat storage. You can eat perfectly and move daily, but if sleep is bad, belly fat will still show up uninvited. Chinese medicine also emphasizes sleeping before midnight. Hormonal repair cycles are strongest earlier in the night. Going to bed at 1 or 2 a.m. is like showing up late to a cleanup crew. The work already got skipped. Another small but powerful habit is avoiding screens right before bed. Bright light and stimulation raise stress hormones and interfere with melatonin. Less melatonin means worse fat metabolism. Yes, your phone is part of the problem. In simple terms, visceral fat loves chaos. Late nights, late meals, and poor sleep create the perfect environment for it to grow. Calm evenings, early meals, and consistent sleep take that environment away. Visceral fat is not burned through punishment, starvation, or endless crunches. It disappears when the body feels safe, balanced, and supported from the inside. If this explanation helped you understand how to lose visceral fat fast using the Chinese way, subscribe to the channel for more clear, science-backed breakdowns. New videos are posted regularly, so hit subscribe and stay consistent.